When I was 12 years old, I got this 3D printer. After countless projects and hundreds of hours of printing, this thing is kind of starting to show its age, and I think it's time for an upgrade. This is the Neptune 4. 7 years advancement of printer technology. It blew me away. All I've even done so far is assemble this thing and do a couple of test prints. Wow, have printers changed in the last 7 years. This wasn't even an expensive printer. It cost me the Canadian equivalent of like $220 US, which is really not bad. This isn't going to be a review of this printer. It's more my experience with the upgrade. So let's start a print on each of these printers, starting with the Monoprice. First, I slice the model and put it on an SD card to physically take it to the printer. Then I can put some glue on the bed and watch to make sure the first layer turns out okay. Now on the Neptune, I just have to press print in the slicer, and it just starts printing. The screen gives me a cool little preview, and the computer becomes a remote monitoring interface. I thought that was pretty cool. Here's the part that's really exciting for me. The Monoprice took 1 hour and 50 minutes to print this part. The Neptune, 48 minutes, more than twice as fast. I realize that this sounds like an advertisement. It is not. For all I know, all of the modern printers do all of this stuff. I just happened to land on this one. I do not care if you buy Elegoo products. After printing, removing parts from the Monoprice can sometimes be a bit of a struggle. Here's what it looked like on the Neptune. That is incredible. Credit to the 7-year-old Monoprice here. These prints don't look that different. I mean, the Neptune definitely has an edge, but you know, this thing's not all that bad. With the quality improvements, the much faster speed, and the easier printing process, this is a big upgrade for me. Not to mention, it'll print twice as big. That was a huge limiting factor on this printer. All of that being said, this thing is not perfect. I noticed a few little weird software problems, and I wanted to get it on the latest firmware to test it out. And the firmware update process is super annoying. You have to like take apart the screen and copy multiple files and stuff. It seemed like that probably could have been simpler. Another thing I noticed is that changing nozzles on this printer kind of sucks. I like to run a 0.6mm nozzle. That's what's in this printer. That's what I wanted in this printer. And you have to take apart quite a bit of stuff to get down to it. It's just a bit annoying. At this point, I could care less about the fancy high-resolution touchscreen and the cool print lighting. The filament runout sensor is legitimately pretty useful. Right now, what I really want to see is 3D printing stopping being a frustrating thing that I have to struggle through to make a project, and instead be something that inspires it, makes it easier and better. That's what I want to see this 3D printer do. So let's make a project, maybe something to celebrate the milestone of 1,000 subscribers. Thanks for that, by the way. The plan is to make a cool subscriber and view counter clock using these parts that I put together. I also designed a 3D model, so let's get that on the printer. I have never had a 3D printing experience this good. I just picked this thing up off the print bed, and this bottom layer looks incredible. This is so impressive to me. I also realized that I don't actually have enough LEDs to build this, so I'm probably gonna end up with a few different colors on here, but let's figure it out. I don't even want to talk about what happened here. This was supposed to be a fast, easy, one-day project just to show how the 3D printer works and how it's making everything better. And to be fair, okay, the 3D printer worked great. This part, great. The electronics did not go well. The thought process here was that I was going to try and save some parts by just using one chip to run all 4 numbers on the screen. The way it would do this is just doing one number at a time and cycling through them so fast that it looked like they were all lit up. That's called multiplexing, and it did technically work fine, but because each number is only on for a fraction of the time, and combine that with the lights having to shine through the plastic and stuff, I didn't think it looked that great. The lights were really dim. That led to me deciding that I wanted to cut everything apart and redo it, just directly drive each one with its own chip. And then I ended up cutting a circuit board in half. The rest was a blur, and I want nothing to do with this project anymore. I'm just happy that it works. And I do think that it turned out looking pretty good. Being able to leave a print running overnight and then expecting that I'll come back and be able to take it off of the printer without fighting it, and then have it look this good with this nice of a surface finish, Not to mention like actually accurate dimensions and tolerances. This is what I've wanted 3D printing to be the whole time. What a refreshing experience. I think that's a great way to end off. So come back next Thursday. Bye.